So we have a Royalist soldier from King's Lynn in 1643 preparing to repel the parliamentarian attackers. We're inside the historic Southgate, one of the defences of 1643. To load the musket, which is a Matchlock musket, this one's copied from one in the Tower of London, a 1642 pattern. You would open first the priming pan and expose the priming pan and a touch hole going through into the barrel itself. The weapon is fired by loading up with priming powder from the priming flask. I'll just do that dummy as we're indoors. Blow off the loose powder. In this hand you'd have a piece of match cord. That's a piece of rope, hemp rope soaked in a mixture of water and potassium nitrate or saltpeter and then dried out as a fuse. That stays well away from the body. That's in the left hand, that's fire. And in each of my bottles or my bandolier I have gunpowder. The two shouldn't mix, obviously.
And about how long would a match like that last?
A piece of match like this might last me about 20 minutes. I need to carry bottles of match, would be very, very expensive. So you would have the powder within there, turn the gun about. Do not put it on the floor, because you need to actually move around and march while you're doing this as well. Go to one of your bottles, which holds a charge enough for one shot from the barrel, and pour the rougher quality powder down the barrel. Watch it all go in. Put the lid back on again in case a spark goes into what's left of the powder in the bottle. It goes up in your face. Go to the pouch, take out a musket ball. Now I'll have one here, which I'll just show you. Using loose powder and loose musket balls. That was a 12-ball musket ball. That would go into the barrel after the gunpowder. You would then go into another pouch and take out some wadding. The wadding could be paper, more likely it would be grass or dried leaves, anything dry, which is to pack in after the ball down the barrel to hold it in place, to make a good seal, a good vacuum, and also to stop the ball rolling out if you're shooting down at the parliamentarians downstairs. So that's sitting here, gunpowder, bullets and wadding. You want it down by the touch hole here. So you take out the scouring stick, which is called thus because you scour or clean the gun with an oily rag after use, and you ram down the charge with a scouring stick, trying not to put your hand over the end in case it goes off by accident, sending it through your hand. Take out the scouring stick, put it back into its place, and then, for the first time, you handle the burning match cord in your gunpowder hand, your right hand. You blow on the match cord, put it into this snake's head shaped device called a serpent, which when you pull the trigger will bring the match down. So to fire the piece, you would aim the piece, open the pan, exposing the powder, and whoosh, bang. Sadly, on a wet day, it just goes fuzz. The difference with this and the flintlock muskets is I'm not using cartridges. So when you have a piece of hemp match cord, it tends to foul the musket. This is a very short piece. I normally shoot a longer piece of match. So when you stand at the order arms position, order your musket position, you used to come to the shoulder. You have to do different manoeuvres to the ones you would do with a flintlock.
I hadn't even considered that. In fact, your left hand is kind of taken up, isn't it?
Oh yes, there's lots to think about. It's a bit like a dance, you'll see. If I go to the shoulder your musket, I have to do this and this, and then separate the match to make sure I haven't caught on anything. I do this, and then I do this. So the matches are well away from the gunpowder in the bottles. Now to come back to the order again, I would do this, and I would do this, to make sure the match is free of the musket, then do this, and do that.
Interesting. So even a lot more showy than we're used to in later on.
And you have to do it all at the same time. Rate of fire, if you're good, is 3 shots a minute, 1 every 20 seconds, as you would have with a brown best.
Interesting. So they have to be working a lot more steps, a lot faster, to get that same right.
They were not trained soldiers. We're talking about 1643. The first full-time standing army was 1645, the New Model Army of Parliament.
Yeah.
And they started to train and drill properly, and they were easy to control and to use in battle and on the march. They were actually not at all prone to plunder or looting other bad things. So in this time, 1643, the fellows who do this are not trained soldiers. They're just part-time soldiers with very little skill or knowledge. So I suspect many blew themselves up and set fire to themselves on a regular basis.
Or dropped the cord, I imagine, with all the following about when there's men dying and falling all around you. It's rather easy to do.
At least to run. In 1645, Oliver Cromwell was besieging Basing House in Hampshire. Well-defended Royalist stronghold, had been there defending for about 2 years against parliamentarians. The Westminster trained bands turned up with their muskets and went to attack the house in formation, 6 to 8 men deep. The fellows at the back got scared and they fired their muskets through the backs of their own comrades,
Wow.
killing and wounding at least 70 men of their colleagues.
Yeah,
friends.
that would do it,
They were
wouldn't
not
it?
trained soldiers.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very different stage, very much a militia.
All right. So, and again, looking at the motions, how it's very flamboyant, very, stretching out the arms and everything. A lot of exercise there. First off, I imagine that's rather hellish in the field. And,
I think they would have shortened the drill quite a lot. The drill was very lengthy. I cut it down very much. But you have a renaissance at this time of military sciences, military skills. The pike is still the weapon of honour. Stronger men use the pike, and that's going to be a 16 to 18 foot long spear. And it was seen as a weapon harking back to the classical age. They would be there to defend the musketeers like me from enemy horses, enemy cavalry. The musketeers were called rude mechanicals. Muskets are dirty. Gunpowder is very dirty.
Yeah, makes sense.
And yes, I think it would have been a difficult job to do for untrained men and a dangerous job to do.
Interesting.
It all goes back to also the Renaissance. The London trained bands, for example, were doing this sort of thing, military drill for show. Going to the Tower of London and showing their prowess at military drill.
Put on the pomp and
All the
circumstances
wars
as well.
in the Low Countries going at this time across on the continent. Soldiers were here, very much part-time soldiers, better at drill perhaps than they were at fighting.
So that's interesting. So we have sort of the simultaneous rise on one hand of military showmanship and skill, and look at how pretty we are, look at how much we can make the musket crack as it were, and yet at the same time we have the idea of the scum of the earth mentality.
Muskets were the rude mechanicals.
Yeah.
You're still seen as a dishonourable thing to kill a man from a distance, especially a common man like me shooting at a king, a lord, a duke.
And anyone can do it, and of course they won't even see which one is pulling the trigger against
At
them.
the Battle of Edgehill, for example, in 1642, the first big battle, October 1642, in the Civil Wars, the earl of Essex commanded the Parliamentarian army, and at one time he thought the Parliamentarians were losing the battle. So he dismounted from his horse, he picked up a pike and joined the pikemen. He was willing to die with a pike in his hand like a gentleman.
Well.
He didn't grab one of these.
Interesting. And just one other thing points I wanted to make, you may have something interesting to say about it. When I look at things like the 7 Years War drill,
Yes.
it's also very flamboyant. I noticed when, I forgot exactly what the maneuver is, but at one point they have to hold the musket out like this at the poise or some such. It seemed like maybe that's part of the tradition sort of coming out of the whole...
It's also to make soldiers, I think you're familiar with foot drill, it's to make soldiers obey. It's to strengthen them, to get them used to carrying the weapons, you can weigh 9 or 10 pounds in weight, heavy equipment as well. It's to get them used to being, it gives them exercise, it gets them used to wielding those weapons and holding those weapons. And I find myself, when I've been shooting at targets with this weapon, with ball, live firing, in wars, you just point, shoot, put down again, start to reload. But at targets, you hold it up. Now, if you're shooting at targets for a long time, it's not so much the kick of the musket that hurts. The next day, it's under your arm. The effort and strength required in your shoulder and muscles there to hold up this heavy musket is indeed quite great. So
Yeah, I can imagine so.
practice makes perfect. Get soldiers to blindly obey. And get used to swinging their arms about, and it looks good when you're showing off to the non-military folks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm sure. So, all right, so just one last thing, and then I'll let you go after holding you captive for so long. Just tell me a little bit about the clothing that you're wearing, because of course...
The thing is, shoes were issued by the army, be it the Parliamentarian army or the Royalist army. These are all replicas, of course. They were made on a straight last, so there's no left or right shoe, they're just straight shoes.
Same principle as the 18th century, then?
Same principle as 18th century soldier shoes. The idea being that you even out the wear on the shoes by swapping them over once they get one on one side. Stockings were issued in the King's Army of Oxford. They were issued stockings. Parliament never issued stockings or hose. Upper hose, very fashionable, ventilated breeches, very 1643. Breeches come to the waist and stop at the knee. Side with the garters tie up the stockings.
Oh, and the garters are just at the stockings, not on the breeches as well.
Yeah, they always were. On some reenactors have a garter running through.
But it is more accurate.
They didn't do that. They used to have it tied up separately. Beneath my soldier's coat, which is made of wool and lined with wool, I would have a civilian jacket for warmth. No central heating.
Yep,
Much
fair enough.
campaign, you haven't got tents. No record of tents in the British Army until 1650, Battle of Dunbar.
Interesting.
In Scotland. The equipment goes on in a certain order. When I've done my equipment, I first put on the sword. This is a copy of a sword that's in the Tower of London. It's a soldier's pattern sword called a pikeman's tuck. The information that I've found about these tells me that soldiers very seldom, if ever, use these swords other than for chopping firewood.
Rather unsurprising.
Yes, and posing down the high street on Saturday night.
Although every standard infantryman would have a sword, I suppose,
They
in
can
place
give a
of...
sword, but only, of course, in time of peace, only gentlemen and soldiers carry swords, and there are very few professional soldiers, so those men wouldn't know how to use one. Gentlemen would be taught defence, obviously. We carry a costrel made of leather and lined with pitch, because we would have issue officially a gallon, 8 pints of small beer every day. In my knapsack, I would carry my food or snack.
Oh, it's much larger than I thought from the front.
They do vary. You carry spare shirts, spare shoes, you carry your issue of half a pound of ham, half a pound of cheese.
Your entire life.
If you get it. Lastly, I put on my bandolier of bottles. That's because if it catches fire, I can throw it off over my head very quickly.
Interesting.
I'm wearing my best hat. It's not beaver felt, I can't afford one of those. It's a wool felt hat, and it's made on a round block. Hence you get the brim coming down at the front and back and up the sides. In a bit similar to the Georgian style. There's more pronounced, if you like, in later years with a smaller brim. But normally you'd wear a woolen Monmouth cap. It's comfortable, you can sleep in it, keep your head warm, you can throw it into a pouch or into a corner. It's hard to sleep in a field and keep your hat looking nice. When it's
Yes, I'm sure.
So that's it, thank you very
Right,
much.
well, thank you.